The slow loris looks like something a studio animator designed specifically to make you feel things. Round face, enormous eyes, tiny hands gripping a branch with what appears to be genuine contentment. People see videos of them being tickled, and they share those videos because the animal looks like it's enjoying itself. It is not enjoying itself. That's a fear response. The raised arms expose scent glands on its wrists, and what the slow loris is actually doing in those videos is coating itself in a substance that, when mixed with saliva, produces venom. It is preparing to bite whoever is touching it. The animal that launched 1,000 awe comments is a venomous primate, and it is the only one. Here's how it works. The slow loris has a gland on the inside of its elbow that secretes an oily fluid. The loris licks this gland, mixes the secretion with saliva, and the resulting compound becomes toxic. It then bites, delivering the venom into the wound. The bite causes tissue necrosis, anaphylactic shock in some cases, and has been documented killing humans, though rarely. It also uses this venom on its own offspring, coating the young with it before leaving them alone while it forages, essentially weaponizing its babies against anything that might try to eat them. The slow loris didn't evolve to be cute, it evolved to be underestimated. The pet trade has decimated slow loris populations because people watch those videos and want one. To make them handleable, traffickers pull their teeth out with wire cutters. The animal you're watching being tickled in that clip almost certainly had its teeth removed without anesthetic. That's what's behind the round face and the big eyes and the tiny hands. That's the actual story. Dolphins. The version of dolphins that lives in the cultural imagination is generous, playful, possibly telepathic, definitely on humanity's side. They rescue drowning swimmers. They communicate in complex ways. They're intelligent. All of that is true. What's also true is that male bottlenose dolphins form gangs, coordinate strategies across multiple allied groups, and use those alliances to forcibly separate female dolphins from their pods and coerce them for weeks at a time. Researchers observing this behavior noted that the males maintained coordinated pursuit across open water, working in rotating shifts to prevent escape. This isn't aberrant behavior. It's a documented social strategy that appears to be culturally transmitted. Younger males learn it from older ones. Dolphins also kill porpoises, not for food. Porpoises are not prey items for bottlenose dolphins. They kill them anyway, ramming them at speed, tossing them into the air, drowning them. The behavior has been observed repeatedly in coastal waters off Scotland and Virginia and elsewhere, and researchers spent years trying to explain it as redirected aggression or practice hunting before the evidence became too consistent to explain away. The current hypothesis is that it's recreational violence, or possibly a way for males to practice the physical techniques they use in coercing females. Neither explanation makes it better. What makes dolphins genuinely unsettling isn't that they're dangerous to humans. They mostly aren't. It's that they're intelligent enough to be cruel in ways that don't serve obvious survival purposes, and that intelligence makes the behavior harder to dismiss. Dolphins also kill baby dolphins that aren't theirs. Male dolphins have been observed killing infants, which causes the mother to become reproductively available again. This behavior is documented in lions, bears, and several primate species. The fact that it's also documented in the animal that appears on children's bedroom walls and inspires motivational posters is something most people prefer not to think about. Sea otters. Everything about the way sea otters are presented to the public is accurate, and everything about it is incomplete. They do hold hands while sleeping so they don't drift apart. They do wrap themselves in kelp as an anchor. They do carry their favorite rocks around in a loose fold of skin under their arm. They are also, as a species, engaged in behaviors that marine biologists have described using language that does not appear in the nature documentary narration. Male sea otters hold females underwater during mating. This is not a brief or gentle process. It frequently results in the female being injured. Bite wounds to the face and head are common enough that researchers studying otter populations can identify females by their scarring. Females sometimes drown. The mortality rate from mating-related injuries is significant enough that it affects population dynamics in some areas. The males are substantially larger than the females and use that size advantage without restraint. There's another behavior that was documented and then largely kept out of mainstream nature coverage for years. Male sea otters have been observed holding harbor seal pups in the same way they hold females for extended periods, sometimes fatally. Researchers observing this at Monterey Bay documented multiple incidents. The behavior appears to be an extension of the same mating drive misdirected toward an available target. The seal pups involved do not survive. The otter, afterward, has been observed attempting to groom the body. The animal holding hands with its mate and floating peacefully in the kelp is the same animal. That's the thing about nature. It doesn't separate into the version we want and the version that actually exists. If you're finding these animals as wild as I am, I post content like this regularly, and I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed. It genuinely helps. Thanks. Quokkas. The quokka is a small marsupial from Western Australia that has been called the happiest animal on Earth. Its facial structure produces a permanent expression that reads as a smile. Tourists on Rottnest Island take selfies with them constantly. The quokka selfie is a genre. The animal is genuinely unbothered by human presence, which makes the photos easy to get, which has made the quokka one of the most photographed animals in the world relative to its population size. It is also an animal that, when threatened by a predator, will throw its joey. This requires some context. Quokkas are marsupials, which means they carry underdeveloped young in a pouch. When a quokka detects a predator and determines that escape is necessary, it has been documented expelling the joey from the pouch. The joey, suddenly on the ground and making noise, draws the predator's attention. The mother escapes. The joey typically does not. This behavior has been observed and documented by researchers and is not disputed. The framing of it varies. Some researchers describe it as an involuntary stress response, a muscle contraction caused by the flight reaction that happens to expel the pouch young. Others describe it as more deliberate. The outcome is the same either way. The smiling animal in the selfie survives by producing a distraction, and the distraction is its own offspring. The evolutionary logic is straightforward. The joey is small, underdeveloped, and represents a relatively low reproductive investment compared to the adult female, who can produce more offspring. Sacrificing the current joey to preserve the breeding female is, from a purely genetic standpoint, efficient. Evolution doesn't optimize for the outcome that looks good in a photograph. It optimizes for genes that persist. The quokka's genes persist. The joey's genes, in that scenario, do not. The quokka keeps smiling. Penguins. Penguins have an image problem in the sense that their image is entirely wrong. They are associated with loyalty, monogamy, and parental devotion, largely because of a documentary that followed emperor penguins through an Antarctic winter and framed their behavior in terms of love and sacrifice. Some of that framing was accurate. Penguins do form pair bonds. Many species do return to the same mate across multiple seasons. The parental investment is real and extreme. Male emperor penguins stand in Antarctic darkness for 2 months, not eating, in temperatures that reach -60°C, balancing a single egg on their feet. That part is true. What's also true is that penguin colonies are sites of sustained social chaos that researchers who've spent time observing them describe with a kind of exhausted frankness. Penguin theft is common. Penguins steal rocks from each other's nests constantly. Rocks are essential nesting material, and a large rock collection is a competitive advantage, so penguins steal from neighbors whenever the neighbor isn't looking, and the neighbors steal back. This creates a low-grade permanent conflict running through the entire colony. Penguin kidnapping is documented, and it is exactly what it sounds like. Female penguins that have lost a chick will sometimes attempt to take another penguin's chick. The behavior appears to be driven by a hormonal state that persists after the loss. The drive to parent doesn't switch off when the chick dies. The female approaches another pair's chick and attempts to claim it. The biological parents defend it. The outcome varies. Sometimes the kidnapping attempt fails, sometimes it succeeds, at least temporarily, before the chick wanders back or is retrieved. In some documented cases, the kidnapped chick is taken to an area away from the colony and then abandoned when the female's hormonal state changes. The chick dies. The female returns to the colony. The behavior serves no clear adaptive purpose for anyone involved. Male Adelie penguins engage in behaviors toward females that researchers initially recorded in field notes using clinical language, and then, for decades, kept out of published literature. George Murray Levick, a naturalist on Robert Scott's 1910 Antarctic expedition, documented what he observed in a private pamphlet that was suppressed and not publicly released until 2012. The behaviors involved coercion, interactions with deceased females, and misdirected mating attempts toward juveniles. Levick, a product of Edwardian England, described what he was seeing as depraved and astonishing, and couldn't bring himself to publish it for general audiences. The behaviors he documented have since been confirmed by modern researchers. They are not rare. They are part of ordinary Adelie penguin colony life. The tuxedo, the waddle, the careful balancing of the egg, all of it is real. All of the other things are also real. The pattern across all of these animals is the same. We decided what they were before we looked carefully at what they actually are. The slow loris became a symbol of gentle innocence because it has large eyes and moves slowly, and we associate those traits with harmlessness. Dolphins became symbols of benevolent intelligence because they're intelligent, and they sometimes help humans, and we assumed the intelligence would produce values we recognize. Sea otters became symbols of tenderness because they hold hands, and holding hands means something specific to us, so we mapped our meaning onto their behavior. Quokkas became symbols of uncomplicated happiness because their faces produce an expression we read as a smile. Penguins became symbols of loyalty because some of their behaviors resemble loyalty as we practice it. None of these readings are wrong exactly. The animals do the things we say they do. The slow loris does have enormous eyes. Dolphins are intelligent. Sea otters do hold hands. Quokkas do have faces that look like they're smiling. Penguins do maintain pair bonds across seasons, but those facts exist alongside all the other facts, and we chose which ones to see. The animals didn't curate their own image. We did that for them. We built the version of nature that felt comfortable, and then we sold it back to ourselves on mugs and phone cases and children's bedroom walls, and the actual animals kept doing what they do in the actual world, completely indifferent to how we decided to feel about them. If that's the kind of thing that makes your brain short-circuit a little, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching.